Hey guys, what's going on? Blaine back for another Netflix review, and today I'm going to be talking about The Almost Legends. The Almost Legends is a Mexican comedy that tells the story of Romeo and Preciado, a pair of half-brothers who discover each other's existence in their teen years after their father awkwardly introduces them. Not long after this, their father dies in an accident, leaving the brothers with each other and their surviving family members. Although the two have a long-standing animosity with each other, both share the same love for their father as the other does and engage in hobbies passed down by him. They decide to pay tribute to their father by participating in a marathon rally in the hopes of winning a large prize, and in the process, they might just put their differences aside and rediscover themselves. I started watching this movie with high hopes at first, but they petered out long before the movie finished. It's still a decent watch, and it has some entertainment value with its irreverent comedy and chemistry of its leads, or lack thereof, but it takes a long time for the story to go anywhere interesting, and by the time it does, it's too late. Romeo and Preciado are a classic case of sibling rivalry, made worse by the fact that they're not even fully related to each other. Because of this, their animosity often creates chaos whenever they're on screen together, which plays out in different ways. The two couldn't be more different from each other. Romeo is more brash and confident, while Preciado is more meek and reserved. They also take after their father's hobbies, so there's always some kind of competition, argument, or general malaise exchange toward each other, and at first it's fun to see the kind of interactions they have. As the movie progresses though, their family dynamic starts to become stale. They barely make any real progress toward reconciling with each other until the rally is almost about to start. Prior to this, they continue being hostile toward each other without any sort of progression to change or even switching up their antics. It's just one barrage of negativity after another. It's understandable why they would dislike or even hate each other to a point, because neither one knew of the other's existence until later in life, but after a while, their hostility became tiring. While they do cool off eventually, there's a lot of repetition before the movie gets to that point. I do like that the movie explores in different ways how their father influenced them. One becomes interested in his music, while the other becomes interested in his love for cars, and both have varying affinities for other hobbies too, so there's a lot of flexibility for the characters to explore themselves, especially as they realize their hidden talents over time. At the same time though, the way the hobbies are balanced and explored between them felt inconsistent to me. Romeo's love for acting and talent for singing seems to come out of nowhere, while Preciado seems to enjoy both cars and music to near equal degrees, and I just didn't know what end goal the movie was supposed to have for them. There's this overarching theme throughout the movie where the characters have to be true to themselves and not necessarily having to follow their father's footsteps all the time. I get the logic behind that, but it never feels like the movie ever builds toward that direction. There's a lot of talk about it from the characters, but hardly any real action to see, so in the end, I wasn't all that invested in them. Aside from these two, the movie features an eclectic cast of supporting characters to shake things up. Like with the two leads, this was also a bit of a mixed bag for me. On one hand, the sheer number of them helps add variety to the scenes, and they all have their own unique role to play in the story, however small it may be. On the other hand though, they don't stand out all that much and feel cliche with how they're written. You've got the supportive mother and grandmother figures, the evil family who wants to beat the brothers in the race, and a few oddballs here and there to add to the comedy. It's all characters that have been seen before, and they're just as unoriginal here as they've been before. What did stand out to me more while watching was the overall visual style of it all. Everything about this movie is presented with vivid colors, from the sets and costumes to the time indicators edited on screen. The entire village makes a big deal out of this rally, and it's nice to see this being reinforced with the way the movie looks. The music adds even more energy to the story too. Aside from the soundtrack itself, which is good in its own right, it also features a number of musical performances in the story in keeping with the brothers' father's background. Everything about the movie's aesthetics does a great job at maintaining a fun atmosphere. Speaking of fun, the majority of this movie's entertainment value comes from the fact that it's a comedy, and quite an eccentric one at that. There's no one specific situation that's necessarily laugh out loud funny, but there's a lot of it that made me smile and even chuckle at the zaniness on screen. Romeo's tendency to speak in multi-part sentences, Cousin Divley's little schemes, and a self-obsessed social media addict being an expert driver are just a few examples of the random humor that it presents. It doesn't always work, but when it does, it's pretty funny and adds to the enjoyment. Unfortunately, one has to sift through a lot of tedium to get to these moments, which leads to the movie's biggest problem. For a movie that has the potential to be energetic and fast-paced in relation to its rally event, it is unusually slow with how it plays everything out. It takes a long time for the two brothers to sort out their issues and for the rally to even happen. Every scene is paced out in decreasing numbers of days, from 20 days to 15 days to 8 days, and the movie barely makes any progress during this time span, which made it incredibly boring to watch. Once the rally actually does take place, that's when the movie becomes more tolerable. It differs from other movie races in that it's more of a marathon than a sprint, so it allows more time for silly antics from the brothers to take place, and there's a good amount of suspense involved with the race itself too. It's a shame that the movie spends so much time idling with what's pretty much an ordinary coming-of-age story, where two brothers grow out of their father's shadow and help each other become better men of their own accord. The message behind it is good, but there's too much filler that gets in the way of it. Overall, The Almost Legends is an okay comedy that has good intentions, but the execution leaves a bit to be desired. If you like comedies with a family element to them and don't mind an offbeat presentation, you might enjoy checking this out. The movie is fun in the right places, but it spends a lot of time in places where it doesn't need to, resulting in it becoming an ordinary and repetitive affair. It's definitely not as legendary as its title suggests, but for a simple if off-kilter story of two brothers coming together, it's not that bad. What did you think about this movie? Did you enjoy the style it had going for it, or were you also bored by its slow pacing? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways guys, that's going to wrap up my review of The Almost Legends. Thanks for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it, and as always stay tuned for the next part, where next time I review the Korean sports comedy, Dream. Bye bye!